Hey investors, welcome back to the Real Estate Hacker Show. Today is the day where we close on a cash flowing Baltimore City rental, 2110 East Hoffman Street. I did an initial video. Today is the day where we do closing, where we do the initial walkthrough, and I want to share the systems that I utilize to get my renovation underway, what I do day one to really give me a jump start to allow me to renovate properties in 30 days, sometimes 45 days, but really get that property up and running as fast as I possibly can. So if you are having trouble getting your properties up and running, having issues with the renovation, this video is for you. What you can do day one on the walkthrough, even before you own the property. So the same stuff that I am actually doing. That's what I'm going to share in this video. I did this video at the property. The audio was terrible. I'll show you this video where I'm standing in front of the property. I actually have a beard because it was about a month ago on this new investment property. And so it's an exciting day, but there's things that you have to start doing even pre-closing on a property. And so the audio is terrible. I just couldn't share that video on YouTube because the audio is horrible. It's really rough. So I'm just gonna let you do the video walkthrough because I actually do a full video walkthrough with my camera without me on camera while I basically tell you what I said that day. And I'm going to share with you, this is part of a video series. It was going to be from day one for us putting an offer and analyzing all the way through closing on the property. After we did the walkthrough on this property, we ended up having an issue with the seller. So I'll share what happened there at the end. This is probably the last video in the series, but it should be really strong to help you out, get a jump start on that renovation. So let's get through it. So when you're doing your final walkthrough, day of closing, there is a couple things that I always do. I always do a video walkthrough of the property and I narrate exactly what I'm gonna do in that renovation. And this helps me in so many different ways to remember what I wanted to do, to actually just be able to go back as a reference point to think, and I don't actually have to be at the property. So it's just a huge tool. So I always do a video walkthrough of the entire property, narrating what I'm gonna do for the property. I can also send this video to contractors if I'm just using a GC so they know exactly what I wanna do. But again, it's a reference that you don't actually have to set foot back in the property again. So the other thing that I do that I've shared before is I do a blueprint of the property. And I used to do them. I used to hand draw all the blueprints out. It took a little bit. I'd use a laser to get the dimensions, go through each one of the rooms. Now there's a sweet app that on an interview, one of my guests told me called Cubicasa. It's been around forever. I'm late to the game. But this allows you to do that same video walkthrough in the app and you just walk around the entire property. You do it relatively slow, so it takes about 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes to do that video walkthrough, and it does the blueprint for you. Super time saver. It's 100% free. If you haven't used it and you're doing blueprints, you're gonna thank me later. So thank you, Dave Edwards, for that recommendation. So I always do a blueprint, and I do that for many reasons. One is just to have the dimensions in case we need materials. I can share it with the contractor so they don't have to measure everything out. I can use it in the listing if I sell the property or if I'm renting it out and one of the tenants wants to know the dimensions of the rooms. And the cool thing with that Cubicasa app when I do the video walkthrough is that it is very, very accurate down to maybe missing a couple inches, which I probably would miss when doing the laser measure anyways. And so very accurate. So there's that. The other thing that I do to get a huge jump start on the property is I have the contractors meet me for the initial walkthrough or the final walkthrough before closing. So I am meeting with the contractor and we are going over the project prior to me even owning the house. And so I'll walk around. It's pretty easy for me because the contractors that I've used for a while. We do the same thing every single time, super cookie cutter-esque. So they know the paint colors, they know the floors that we're gonna use, they know how we're gonna install the tile in the bathroom, they know the kitchen cabinets, they know how I like it. And so we just go over there, but it's always good, even though they know exactly how I like it. If there's anything that needs to be talked over, we can talk it over right there. If there's going to be any challenges, I can make some decisions if we're going to keep stuff, like hey, we're going to keep this bathroom. It looks great. We're just going to glaze the tile. So I can make that decision right there in front of them. We can just talk it out. Or if sometimes we have a disagreement, they say, hey, I think you should do this. And I say, hey, I think you should do this. And it's opposite opinions. We kind of just go back and forth, and then we come up with the best opinion. But meeting with the contractor day one before even closing the property, and usually what ends up happening is I'm giving them a week or 2 weeks advance notice saying, hey, I'm closing on this property on this day. Can you meet me there? 11, 10 a.m. And so even if they're doing another project, they'll just stop over the property, be over there for an hour, can get everything, get situated, planning for themselves. And they're usually starting that project a day or two later. And so, huge tidbit, I highly recommend you do that. Now, if you're having issues in your rehab, you're going way over budget, you're going way over your timeline, I have a course that I created. It took forever. It's all of my knowledge. It's exactly all the systems that I personally do that I'm sharing with you right now, but it goes in depth. And so that is Master the Rehab. There's a link in the description of all our YouTube videos, but feel free to go over there, check that out. It is a game changer for anybody that wants to level up their construction, their rehab game. So there's that. It's just go to mastertherehab.com and then you can see it there. So that's the plug for the course. Moving on, other stuff that I do to get a jump on this rehab. So I have a list that shows every single specialty that I'd ever need for a property, and it goes in order of when I'd hire that specialist. And this is why this is important and why it's good to have this list. Let's say you have a roof that's leaking. You're not going to want to renovate the entire inside of the house if you're not addressing the roof. So there's a certain order that you're going to hire contractors, and it's important. And just to have this out on a list so you know, hey, I need to hire the roofer before I hire the painter and the flooring expert. And just knowing when you hire them is really important. But it's also good to see that list that you can actually go in and I actually write what contractor I'm hiring for that specialty. So it's a quality assurance thing to make sure I'm not missing the contractors, but also that I'm not hiring them out of order. i.e. windows also. If you're not getting them off the shelves, most investors have them ordered. If they're doing the entire house, windows take about 3 to 4 weeks to manufacture. So that's going to be day one. You're contacting the window installer to go over, measure, get everything ready because it's a 3 to 4 week time period to even for the windows to go in and then for them to get installed. If you don't do that, and then all of a sudden you get to the end of project because you didn't have this contractor list of when you should hire them, you're going to go and go, oh, I need to hire windows. And then you're 3 to 4 weeks added on the end of your project that extends out your time frame. So knowing when to hire the contractor and what specialty is if you're GCing the project is super, super important and helps me speed up that timeline of rehabs hugely. Now, walking around this property, as you've seen, we've had the video walkthrough going on for a while now on this video, so you're not just looking at my ugly mug. There's a few reasons why I love this property and why you can now look at it and go, why did Dave even purchase this property? Or why is he going to purchase this property? One is location. I actually like the location of this property. It's right across the street from a park, and so it's got a good, you look out the front door, you get a good feel. It's got a church on the block, and it's not too far away from Johns Hopkins Hospital. That's a big employer in Baltimore. It's also really close to a place in Baltimore called, I want to say it's called City Seeds, but it was a bunch of old factories that Baltimore City poured some grant money funding into. They rehabbed these factories, and now they have incubators and companies that have moved in there. And so there's a decent amount going on right there. And when you are walking outside the property, you don't have a bad feel of this property. So super important for you or your trusted agent or somebody that you really trust to go out and say, hey, this is a good street. Baltimore City is block by block, just like a lot of inner cities. One block can be great, have all homeowners. The next block or 2 blocks over can be terrible. So you have to have a good feel in purchasing a property or you will lose your shirt. The other thing that I love that you might be able to notice about this property is that it has a lot of bedrooms. It's listed as a 5-bedroom. It only has 4 bedrooms. Totally cool. More bedrooms means higher rent. So in this, you also want to walk through during a walkthrough or final walkthrough, if you haven't been there, making sure that your bedrooms are adequate size, seeing if maybe you can add an extra bedroom, because that can make your rent go bump way high up. So I realized, hey, my agent on this one had told me this is not a 5-bedroom, it's a 4-bedroom. There is not a walk-through bedroom, and you'll see it. It just has a skylight but no windows, and it's on, since it's a townhouse connected, there's no way to make it windows in that room. And so for this one, it has to be a 4-bedroom, unless we did some craziness like add stairs up to a skylight and turn that into a door somehow, which I'm not going to do. It's going to way too added of an expense. But you can also see like there's exposed brick. The bones of this property are great. The other thing that I note on this final walkthrough is you want to note any large repairs. So that is a big thing that you don't want to miss, whether that's initial walkthrough or you have an agent walking the property. That is the big thing. You just want to know what cost massive amounts of money and not miss those items. And so one of those items is roof. If you have to redo your roof, you just need to make sure you're putting that in your analyzer, you're adjusting for that in the rehab. Another one is central air conditioning. You want to know, hey, am I going to have to replace the central air conditioner? Another one is your electrical panel. Am I going to have to upgrade the electrical panel? Do I have to just redo the electrical panel? Those are big expenses, and if you miss them, they can blow your budget, because a whole new electrical panel, doing all new electric in a building, can be $12,000, $15,000 if you got to rip open drywall and redo everything. It can be painful if you miss that one. So just making sure you're understanding what the big repairs can be and that you're not missing any. That's an important one on that walkthrough. I also told you that this was going to be a series of videos, and hopefully I was trying to do them all at the property, not like this. But if audio stinks, I got to do them like this, so you can just keep following along, and I'm delivering the most amount of value for you. But while I was doing the walkthrough, the sellers dropped a bombshell on us. They said, hey, we actually are underwater on this property. Even though they didn't list it as a foreclosure, this should have been disclosed by our title company, number one, and it should have been disclosed by them. But they didn't. This happens. It's whatever. So we're walking through and they say, hey, we can't sign today because this house is underwater, meaning they owe more on the loan that they have than what they agreed to sell it for us. And they weren't going to bring, I think it was $12,000 to the closing table to sell this to us. And their thought process was, well, we have a bunch of properties in Baltimore that are with the same lender that have, some of them have equity. We thought they'd just switch equity from this property and switch the loan terms over to the other property. This doesn't normally happen. So if they would have told me this a week or 2 weeks ago before closing, I would have said, this is probably not going to go to close. Lenders don't normally do this. This is not a thing. But so we ended up not closing on this property. Ended up signing all the documents just in case for some reason the lender changed their mind. And I thought, I waited to release this video because I thought, hey, if the lender does, we've already signed the documents, we're ready to go. Title has our earnest money deposit, and so we can still close. We still have the rights to purchase this property. But after, I think it was a month, I went on vacation after this, and after about a month, I said, hey, there's no traction here. I don't just want $4,000 EMD staying on this property forever. I'd rather have it in my account or somewhere else. We'll just keep reaching out. We'll wash our hands of the contract, say, hey, we're out. Let us know when you've solved your lending issue. And the funny thing is, as of today, it looks like they just put this property back on the market. So maybe they listed it for the same exact price as that they had it listed before. But I guess they're probably just going to see if they can find a buyer that can pay $12,000 more than I was going to pay. And then they don't have to come out of pocket. Who knows? So But right now, the property's back on the market. So if you're looking to pay $12,000 or $15,000 more than I was willing to pay, then this property could be yours. So unfortunately, we won't have the all the way to the end. It's always possible that they reach back out to us and we close on the property. But as of right now, this is the end of this series. I can't show you the entire renovation, us getting it leased out, because that's where we ended. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you took that knowledge. Let me know if you guys have questions about the walkthrough. Tell me what your questions are. Put them in the comments. Tell me, hey, I wouldn't invest in this property. I do something completely different. Tell me, Dave, you're an idiot. Any of those things. I respond to the comments, guys and girls. I want to be a better investor myself. I want you guys to be a better investor. I want to share my knowledge with you guys. So put the comments down below of questions that you have. Allow me to help you guys become better investors. So I'll see you guys in the next episode.